I think it's becoming aware that I, at least in my past, had lived my life according to the perceived limits people had put upon me in terms of what I could be or what I could become and what my potential was. Until realizing that oftentimes people have no idea what is possible or what you're capable of. It's only one person that can explore that and find out, and that's yourself. But you're doing it for the rest of the year, right?
And more.
And more, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a continuous practice to see how long it can get.
Wow.
Sort of a longevity practice, because I see it as a longevity indicator for how fast your hair can grow, and you can affect it through your micronutrient intake and everything that you do, you know? So I'm just experiencing myself, and hopefully by the end of this year, I can put it up in a
bottle. Erling Haaland.
Yeah, something like that.
You can already do that now.
Close to. So I'm hiding it with a cap temporarily because it looks like shit.
Yeah.
So that's good. But
nice.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excited to be here.
To the show, yeah. It's good. You are one of my clients.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the first time we met. I don't know when
it was the first time, yeah.
Yeah, we met.
I think I texted you via like Instagram.
Yeah.
And then we started doing sessions together.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's some years ago. 3, 4, something like that.
Yeah.
2020 maybe?
21.
21?
No,
okay.
Yes, I think it was in the beginning of 21.
Of Corona times.
2.5 years ago, yeah.
So we know each other from a professional basis, and you're a friend of mine, and I'm looking up to you as well.
Likewise.
Thank you. And then I saw your documentary a year ago.
Yeah.
You invited me to the premiere. And that was amazing. We're going to talk about that and a lot more in the next project, which is even more amazing.
Yeah.
But your saying in life is limitations are perceptions.
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that? To me, it's the fact that our perception of what is possible comes from our own experience, and oftentimes we can do way more than we ourselves or people around us think is possible. And I think it's becoming aware that I, at least in my past, had lived my life according to the perceived limits people had put upon me in terms of what I could be or what I could become and what my potential was. Until realizing that oftentimes people have no idea what is possible or what you're capable of. It's only one person that can explore that and find out, and that's yourself.
Is it a Danish mentality, or do you see it as a general kind of thing that we just don't believe in others and ourselves for that matter?
I think it's sort of a general thing, but I think it's just an extreme version of it in Denmark, I think, with the Jante law of Jante. And I think it comes from a place of comfort that we are all very comfortable in Denmark. And then when people stick out, we like to, stay with the group. Because oftentimes when you do something extreme, it makes other people reflect on themselves. And that's not a fun thing to do always,
Yeah, for sure.
Makes you reflect on your own life. And it makes you sometimes, then it requires you to demand more of yourself. And that's also more difficult than just staying where you are, perhaps. And then as long as we all stay within our comfort and what we think is reasonable, that's best.
So how do you use it in your daily life?
How do I use it in my daily life? I think I mostly use it towards the goal that I'm aiming for and going towards.
Goals.
Yeah, goals, or my biggest dreams, I would say now, right? And then how I use it more is in terms of my approach to those goals and the steps going there. And doing it coming from a place where I say, okay, I don't know everything. Oftentimes I know nothing, and exploring it from that and from all angles, and not, I think it's more you're more open to questioning things and the approach to how things are done instead of just saying, okay, that's how it's always been done, so that's how we need to do it.
Yeah.
But when you do something extreme, as in my case, you need to oftentimes rethink your approach and also really reflect on, okay, why should I do this? What is it really that's, what should I focus on? Because there are oftentimes there's a lot of things you can focus on, right? And I oftentimes
talked about that,
think we focus on the wrong things because of what other people tell you should focus on, right?
Yeah.
So it's also, I guess, kind of finding the method to go in there.
Yeah.
Because, I was thinking that actually. I was watching the documentary quite recently, and I was thinking, how did you get the idea for that goal? It's a very specific goal. And it's a very, I don't know if have you always been that way? And is it the creativity and the method? What is it that really drives you?
What has driven me my entire life has been to do things differently and having crazy ideas and going for them and thinking differently, being creative about the process. And I think it's been a long process coming to that realization. And I think when I got the idea of doing the Ironman, the first long distance triathlon in Antarctica, it was sort of the trigger of that, of what's always been like my purpose of my drive as a human being. And that's also why, ironically, it wasn't my dream. It's not, I'm not passionate about triathlon. No. I'm passionate about being active and exploring like my physical capabilities, but also the mental element of it. And it became my way of showing what I believe in. Yeah. And in the end, I think that is what matters. We talked about it. It's about showing, not telling, right? Yeah. A lot of people talk about what they believe or what you should do. Yeah. And it doesn't come from talking, it comes from action. And you what you say you are doesn't really matter. It's what you show you are. It's your actions that shows who you really are and what you stand for. And for me, that became the way that I could prove it to myself, first of all, I think. And then also inspiring others, doing it as well. And that became the purpose of doing it, showing the message and showing how I went from being an ordinary Danish dude, done one Ironman before, but no experience in the cold, had never been to Antarctica. I was a master's student from Copenhagen Business School, right? I had no following or any commercial and no sponsors, and zero experience. And that's exactly why I wanted to make a documentary that showed that you can go from nothing to doing, you can go from being an ordinary person to doing something extraordinary. Yeah. It's just a matter of putting your mind to it and then doing it. Yeah. Putting action behind it.
We'll take a quick break to acknowledge one of our sponsors, Nordic Kings. I've been taking Nordic Kings products for more than 2 years now in everything from their bone marrow to their beef liver pills. And this is to spike my micronutrient profile without having to take any synthetic multivitamin pills, because I don't like the taste of organs. So this solution provides me with the exact same nutrients that I can get from the organs without having to eat them. And they're of course made from the highest quality, organic, grass-fed and free-range cows. And this is exactly why I've chosen to partner up with Nordic Kings for so many years now. Because I prefer quality over quantity and always nature first. You can save 15% off your next order by heading over to nordickings.se/en and use the code HOLISTIC15.
Before we get too much into your achievements and all that, there might be someone who don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So let's take an introduction of who you are and where you come from, because I also want to know, where do you come from? Who were you and what were you like in school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've had a very untraditional journey when you look at everything I've done. But I come from a very safe, comfortable childhood, south of Zealand. Grew up, went to high school, and did well. I didn't do well in school when I was in primary school, and I remember I thought I wanted to be because at the time, my dream was to become a professional football player, but I was a small kid. I wasn't the most talented. So that wasn't really realistic in the eyes of everybody else, right? So instead I thought, okay, I want to be a sports journalist because then I can still work with football. So when I was 16, I became like a journalist intern at Berlingske Media, like one of the biggest Danish news sites, working there as a 16-year-old. And I remember just realizing quickly that I knew way more about sport than most of the journalists there. So I was like, what am I actually, how, that's not fun. What am I gunning for then if I already know more about sports than the people I'm striving to become? So I realized it was more of a passion and hobby maybe than what I wanted to do. But I had already started going to gymnasium, which is the ordinary type of high school, right?
Yeah, sort of like high school. Yeah.
Yes.
Danish type.
Because that's what you needed to do in order to become a journalist at the time. So then I had lost sort of the reason why I was in high school. And then I heard about this program at Copenhagen Business School, which was the most prestigious you could attain, international business. It was the highest grade point average you needed. And I remember I hadn't really gotten good grades in my first year of high school, but then I got a 12 in drama of all courses. And I was like, I saw the excitement of that. It became more of a competitive or sporting aspect. And okay, now I can go to try to get the highest grade, the highest average to try to make it to that program, right? So I did well and really well. I got the highest GPA, I think, in the school. And then I moved to Copenhagen, and I took a gap year at that time because I thought you needed to get some experience. So I traveled a bit. I worked first. I went to Spain to learn Spanish. I took like a business integration before you went to university, and then I actually came up with the idea of starting a juice bar chain with my cousin at the time, and we started the juice bar chain in Poland, of all places. When I was 20 years old, we started. He was half Polish, and we'd seen how popular Joe and the Juice was in Denmark. I thought, okay, that could be interesting to do in Poland. So I went there, but then we sort of had a fallout in terms of I had, at that point I had put my head into, I wanted to get into this, prestigious university and program at Copenhagen Business School. So I wanted to have an out if it didn't really work out the first year. And we couldn't really agree on the terms if I were to leave. So I actually left Poland, went back, then had another gap. We were working as a marketing assistant before I started at Copenhagen Business School. And then when you arrive there, there's sort of two ways you can go. You can become a consultant or you become a banker, investment banker, because that's the world you sort of live in, right? It's narrowed down again.
Yeah.
Worked there, did that for 3 years, and then I already knew what I wanted to do was to start my own business, as I had done with the juice bar at first. I think that's where, just following your own passion, pursuing your own passion and your own, taking your own steps in whatever it may be, right? But I didn't have the idea, and oftentimes that's what I hear so many people talk about. I'm waiting for the right idea, right? So when I had passed the 3 years at my bachelor, the system was made so you had to make a decision straight off if you wanted to continue doing a master's. Otherwise, you would be back in line instead of people actually going out and getting experience and figuring out whether it's actually what you want to do, right? And because I didn't really have the idea, the safe path was to get a master's degree, because then you had the diploma. I had nailed my plan B, right? So I started a master's degree in applied economics and finance, of all things, right? I have zero interest in finance and economics.
But that's the general life.
Exactly.
That's what life is.
And then after 1 year, I found it was, I wasn't really excited about that, but I was continuing to finishing it. And then, through that, the whole idea was, you should become a management consultant, because that's what you're gunning for. It is good reputation. You have plenty of opportunities when you do that. So I started doing that that was sort of the thing I was aiming for while I was at business school, and worked as a management consultant the last year of my master's thesis. And so when I was about to finish my master's thesis, I knew, okay, this is not what I want to do. Being a management consultant, I want to start my own business. So I was on a road trip in the US with a friend of mine 2 months before finishing my master's degree. And I just sat down in a cafe in San Francisco. I remember I said, okay, I'm not leaving until I actually figure out what is this idea. And I had read the 4-Hour Work Week of Tim Ferriss, if you're familiar with the book.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
One of my favorite, he's one of my favorite books. And basically he mentions, so it's basically how can you optimize life, not living, 9 to 5 life, but figure out what can you do to actually live your dream life and being more smart about how you're approaching things. And in it, he mentions 3 aspects in order to starting your own business. And that is, starting in a market niche, because it's always easier to start with solving a problem for fewer people, and then you can expand from there. Then doing a premium product instead of a cheap product, because if you're competing on price, it will be an endless game, right? You will tire yourself out. And then solving a business, like a problem within the market. And then I added my own 2 elements, which was I wanted to do something that I was passionate about, and then utilizing technology.
Use what?
Utilizing technology in a new way. And this was in 2017, and in 2016 I had done my first Ironman in Copenhagen. So I knew my passion was sport, so it needed to be something that you were active within. I had in my experience with training for an Ironman, you pay a lot of money for a personal trainer to make a program for you. But, if you went to 3 different coaches, they would give you 3 different training programs, right? Yeah. So how do you know what's the best for you? So that was sort of the problem that I felt was in the market. It was a market niche because Ironman sport is a small market. And it was a premium product. People pay, it's an expensive sport, right? So I thought, okay, could I utilize technology in a new way? And for me, I was thinking utilizing AI and all the data that you collect as a triathlete over a long period of time. Could I utilize that to make AI based, like what Google Maps is for navigation? Could you make that as a training platform? So you basically a platform where you type in what's my goal. I want to run a marathon in 3 hours, or ideally anything within your, it could be anything, right? Yeah. And then you put in your anatomy and who you are and do some initial tests, and then it will make a dynamic training program for you that adjusts to actually how you're training. And instead of it's just being a person's, so utilize data in a way. So I started doing that, and then, then 4 months later, I was thinking, what could I do within the sport of triathlon? Because now I was working in that sport, and it's also a very resume-based sport, right? And I was just a nobody. So I thought, could I do something that hadn't been done before within the sport of triathlon? And the first idea I had was whether an Ironman had been completed on all continents for some reason. I don't know why. But that was the first idea, because then I could be the first person to do it on a new continent. And the whole idea of you can try to be the best, or you can be the first. The first can never be taken away from you, right?
For sure. And especially within the sport of Ironman, it's like the pinnacle, whether you're an amateur or professional, is like the World Championships in Hawaii, Kona, right? And in the end, you're only a world champion for one, next year there'll be a new world champion.
Yeah,
it's
just like cycling, it's an unforgiving sport, because even if you become number 3 or top 10, nobody remembers, right? It's such unforgiving. And
so you had to be the first one.
I wanted to do something where it hadn't been done before. I think that's what triggers me as well as a person. And then Antarctica, obviously I was way late to the trend in 2017, so there were races all over the world. So Antarctica was the only continent remaining.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah.
So the South Pole, right, the 7th, the mythical continent. And then I started talking to people about the idea, and then that's what triggered everything, I think, because people said,
shooting it.
You can't swim 4 kilometers in ice. You're gonna die of hypothermia, right? You can't bike in Antarctica. There are no roads there. You're just an amateur.
That fired you up.
Yeah, it fired me up, because for the first time in my life, I realized that the people telling me this had no freaking idea what they were talking about. They didn't have any cold water. They hadn't even taken cold showers ever, right?
Was it like from friends to family members?
It was, I vividly remember a moment in a gym where a chairman of the company that I've been working in when I was 20, so one of the gap years after the whole juice empire, I left that, right? I worked at an IT company, and he was the chairman there, and we worked at the same gym, and I remember he said to me, you can't swim in ice water, you're gonna die of. And that's the person you look, he was a chairman, so it's a person and I remember like, you have no freaking idea of what you're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that, I think, became the trigger. And then reflecting back on...
So you had to prove them wrong.
Not prove them. I think in the end, it was actually more proving myself right. Because I hadn't pursued being a footballer, which was my dream.
Yeah.
I had postponed. I knew I wanted to start
my own... And you regretted that.
I think it's always in you, right?
Yeah.
Because you feel like, okay, I could have given more, I could have done more, right? Mm-hmm. And then again, in my early 20s, I had postponed starting my own business for all those years, doing things that I didn't really want to do and that you don't need to do. Mm-hmm. You convince yourself that then you have something to fall back on and a plan B. But I'm never gonna show my transcript to anybody ever.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think
the crazy thing was that we trained for like years before that documentary came out.
Yeah.
You never fucking told me anything.
No.
So when he invited me last year with a project that's been going on for years, I was like, I never knew that we've seen each other for on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And that proves who you are.
Yeah.
That you're not about speaking, you're about doing. And even though you're about doing, you don't even want to speak about it because it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter.
But you also kind of fuck yourself if you speak about it. Oh, I'm training for this Iron because, I think I understand it because you'd rather just do it and say, I fucking did it.
Yeah.
There is a rule about you never talk loud about your goals.
Yeah.
You just work towards them.
Not those kinds. That's what
But in the end, you talk about it if other people bring it up.
Yeah.
So people say, "What are you doing?" And I'm gonna do the first Iron, because I think it's subconsciously it does happen, So that's obviously when I announced the project in 2018, I had done one ice swim and done one Ironman. I had no clue how to make it happen, right? But I told myself it is possible, and whenever people ask me if I'm in doubt, or I'm just gonna say no. And I did that on TV on the Good Morning Denmark, I said no, because I had already made that decision within myself, because I think subconsciously it does have an effect.
Said no to what?
Said no to whether I was doubting it was possible, or whether I was doubting I could make it happen.
Yeah.
Of course you're doubting yourself, that's a part of the process, but it does subconsciously have an impact on yourself of what you tell yourself, when you say it out loud to other people. And I think most people are afraid to say what their dream is because of what other people
That's a good point.
say. So you shouldn't be afraid to say it, but you should only say it when, there are different ways you can say it. You can go and say, I'm gonna do this thing, like you're bragging, or before it's done. That's not how you should do it. You should just say, I'm gonna do this, and that's my goal. And then people, whatever people think, they will think
Be humble about it no matter what.
Exactly.
You can always be arrogant and humble in no matter what situation.
And the same with the new goal now, right? I'm not being naive about anything. I'm just going for my ultimate dream.
Yeah.
And the opinions must have been even more exaggerated this time than the last. But we're not going to talk about that yet.
No.
We'll take a quick break to acknowledge one of our sponsors, Functional Self. Functional Self isn't just another health store. It's a lifestyle. I've been taking many of their supplements for years now, including the MagTech Magnesium, which contains 3 of the most essential magnesium types there is, and this makes me sleep like a rock. To the Rosita cod liver oil, the king of fish oils, which is a rare, unprocessed fish oil naturally high in vitamin D and A. And this is actually one of my favorite products. I've been using it for many years now, and I'm even giving it to my 2-year-old daughter. Functional Self offer a carefully curated range of biohacking tools, supplements, and functional foods that are scientifically proven to restore optimal health. So if you're serious about taking your health to the next level, check out the full range at functionalself.com and save 10% off your first order by using the code HOLISTIC10.
So you rode a bike for 180 kilometers on a glacier.
Fucking brutal.
And
I saw that.
after that, it was like 3.7 kilometers swimming in ice water.
Before, right?
Or was it before?
Let me sum it up because I saw it on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first you the fucking seals too.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Seals, yeah.
I was like, fuck no, I would do that, man. And what? Okay, anyway, so you're swimming in ice water in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And the wildlife there apparently is fucking, and the environment itself, you see that
It's insane, yeah.
It's insane. So you never know what you get.
No.
So you start there with 2 boats following you, 4 kilometers down, and then you got the fucking bike with the fat
Fat wheels,
tail,
fat bike, yeah.
Tails,
Fat tires, yeah.
fat tires. And then
No air pressure in the tires.
what the fuck was that? Like, it looked impossible. You would literally, I couldn't have laughed.
You kept falling.
I was laughing.
It's like tilting all the time.
It was ridiculous.
I was like, there's no
It was
180
ridiculous.
kilometers. Like from halfway here to Aarhus or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's actually crazy to think about. How far it is.
On that, in that
Yeah.
environment, I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck. I
In that
know
environment.
from Denmark, like the snow, I'm like, okay, anyway, you did that for 180 kilometers. And then a blizzard came. Which almost killed some of the people in the boat
Yeah.
that was there filming the stuff. Where you were locked in a tent for what?
27 hours.
27 hours, which must have been fucking
It was
hard as well.
horrible,
Yeah, and then after that, you finished I think maybe it was even. Did you get some good rest in there? It feels like because there was 20 kilometers or something back.
I had 20 kilometers left. Yeah.
Which then
I don't really remember. It was like a big blur, the 27 hours, right? But obviously,
it was
your
impressive.
your body started to recover, so that's not ideal, right?
That's
I was
not good.
and we were lying in a sleeping mat. I was lying in a sleep. I was never supposed to be in any of the tents, so it was only 2 people tents, and we were 3 people in our. So I was just lying in a sleeping bag like this.
Okay.
But then there was so much snow on the sides that in the end we couldn't all lie down like this. So we had to lie like this. And I remember I couldn't bend my legs.
Oh, it must have been
Because
terrible.
I was just like, and there was I couldn't stretch. There was nothing I could do. So I was like, how am I ever gonna walk? But I was like, okay, 20. If I have to crawl at this point, I'm gonna crawl. And I think because I told my brain told my body, whatever it is, I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah.
When my brother woke me up on the 3rd night, I think I was so exhausted and so tired that they sort of disconnected.
Yeah.
My body, okay, he's gonna do it anyway, so we might as well make it easy for him.
Yeah.
Because I remember I went out of the tent and then I could walk, and I was like surprised. And then I started running and I could run.
Yeah.
So I think I just passed that point where you saw the body had.
I was actually thinking when I saw it, it's okay to take a nap in between an
I
hour?
was just about to...
It's just, well, obviously when you do a regular Ironman, there's a time gap of 17 hours, right? But when they do the races across America and all these things, you have to sleep, right? There was also 10 times Ironmans that they do. So the time is just, the time just continues, right? So in that sense, yeah, it does. It's just, the time is just, it's not...
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you in any way, I feel,
So it officially counted.
Yeah.
You have sort of a record on that. Yeah.
Well, it's my own race, right? So
yeah.
So basically, yeah. But then when it comes to extreme events like this, then the sleep is just, the time is just longer. You would say, right?
So how was it?
It was insane. I mean, as when people often ask, like, what did you think, right? It went on for 73 hours, right? That's more than 3 days. I mean, how many thoughts do you have in one day, right?
Yeah.
And so
And
it's
the
just like,
conditions too.
it's, you went through the entire spectrum of highs and lows.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, to me, the biggest unknown before was whether I could do the swim, because I hadn't actually been swimming the distance before going there, which is crazy as well, right? And I don't think any human ever have, right? So
scary,
before
man.
jumping, I had to do a swim that nobody had ever done, and then after that was the bike and the run, right? But I was only focused on the swim initially.
Yeah.
So when I actually finished that after, the most brutal 1 hour and 10 minutes
In water?
in water. Yeah.
What is it, 1 hour and
1
10
hour and
minutes?
10 minutes it took me to.
What is the temperature?
It was minus 0.8 degrees Celsius.
And what about the water? That must have been like...
That was minus, the water was minus 0.8 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
And it could be minus because the salt concentration of salt is so high.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's also, you don't see that in the film. You don't see that in the film because it was difficult to, but after 500 meters, because when you swim, it's very much a flow, and I was only breathing to the right side, and I had the ocean coming in from the right side and the glaciers on the left side. But that meant that when the waves kept coming in, that's difficult to see, so I swallowed a lot of water. And because the salt concentration was so high, after 500 meters, I started to puke. So I puked up water, and you just black out and you see stars in front of your eyes. And I just remember, are you freaking kidding me, man?
And because of the movement in the water, it must have felt pretty much colder than -8 degrees.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then an hour and 10 minutes,
hour and
and
10
the
minutes.
fucking, also the other thing is the wildlife.
Yeah.
Aren't there also orcas and stuff over there?
There are orcas, but I don't think any human has ever been killed from orcas.
Okay.
So that's the...
You could get that record.
Yeah. So either way, you would end up with a record.
Fucking, I broke one of them.
But the thing was that there are leopard seals, and they are like the number one predator in Antarctica.
Those are scary,
and there's a diver that has been killed by a
an
leopard seal
underwater
before.
bear.
Underwater,
That's
yeah.
fucking 300 kilos.
They're like you have the polar bear on the North Pole, and then it's the leopard seal on the South Pole.
How did you secure yourself from those animals? You couldn't?
No. When I first heard about it, was a year before, I think, and it's just like, yeah, but we went to Svalbard later to do the half. We went to Svalbard to do the half Iceman. We didn't see any polar bears, so I was like, what are the chances we're gonna see any leopard seals in Antarctica? And we come down, and then 50 to 100 meters from our boat, there are just 5 to 6 leopard seals lying on icebergs.
Did you bring a knife?
The knife doesn't.
I would fucking have brought a knife.
No. So what we did was we sort of said that they were having whistles on the boat. So if they saw any kind of animals when I was swimming, they would blow them, and I had to get out of the water. Then they blew them as well when I was swimming into big ice chunks. So it was a bit chaotic, right?
Oh my God,
and the crazy thing was that when we then go back and see the footage of the sail out, there are freaking leopard seal swimming after the boat. Did you see that in the film?
I did, but I'm gonna.
We put that deliberately, so you probably don't see it the first time you watch it. But there was 2 spots. So first when we sail out, and then shoot from the drone footage where it's sailing underneath the boat, and the leopard seal is longer than the
They're
Zodiac.
not stupid. Yeah, they're not fucking stupid.
But they're swimming after us, and it's very early in the morning, so
And
nobody
they
sees.
are hungry as fucking
They
hell.
don't care. Yeah.
They normally they rip apart.
They rip apart a penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also the other seals, right?
And the head is the same size as this oven.
Wow.
Like it's
And imagine the amount of fat that there's on these animals. Meaning, imagine the jaws of that fucking thing.
Yeah, they're strong.
and so
And they're underwater where they move. Okay,
that's obviously the craziest part of it. And
when I saw that.
the good thing was it's so cold that you don't really think about anything else than the cold.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I had this vision that I was gonna finish on the glacier. So in some way I said, okay, I'm just not gonna meet a leopard seal. And I know it sounds ridiculous when you say it, but that was
You already
I
knew.
was pretty, again, we talked about it before, are you in connection with where you are and that your environment and nature, that includes animals. And I think it's, we were out greeting them 2 days prior, and I told you saw that in the film as well. I'm just gonna, I'm not here to do anything. I'm just here to do a little swim, put out good energy and
for sure.
Leave me alone.
exactly. And that's what I took with me. But obviously when I went out of the water, one thing was I had to finish the swim. Another thing was we hadn't encountered any animals during the swim, right?
Yeah. But they were following you.
They were following, yeah.
Imagine they were just waiting for one of the boats to fuck off. We'll take him then.
But how do you even get to Antarctica?
It's insane.
Yeah. There's
Interesting.
Did you see the entrance to Inner Earth?
Almost.
What about the Nazis?
It felt
I
like
found the Nazis.
it felt like coming to Narnia in some way. Like it is pretty surreal. Also because we sailed there from Ushuaia.
You can fly up there.
You can fly, but not when you fly. It's more inland Antarctica. It's not on the coast in the same way, and it's so freaking expensive to fly.
But what can you do up there? Nothing, right? There's nothing.
On the
Or is there a netto or?
in Antarctica, there's nothing. There are like
There's that red house.
there are military bases.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
really?
the only thing there is.
And
So there are plenty of military bases from, US, Russia,
Wow.
Chile, Argentina.
But no civil life.
No civil life. No people living there permanently. No.
Probably a couple of UFOs.
Yeah, probably
I'd say
a few UFOs.
Abducted.
Maybe some. Yes, there are some
Anyway,
exciting species underneath the ice somewhere.
for sure there must be something.
But 5 days it takes to get there by boat.
And where do you sail from?
We sailed from Ushuaia in Argentina to
So
the
you go
south.
all the way
yeah.
down.
Yeah, all the way down. Yeah,
Yeah, it's such an interesting part of the world.
it's so far away.
Yeah.
And even it takes 4 or 5 days, but it's the tip of there's like the Antarctic Peninsula that goes further out, and then obviously the South America goes. So it's the shortest distance that you travel, right? But it still takes that long. Yeah, 4 or 5 days. Yeah,
in boat.
by boat. Yeah.
That must have been scary as
fucking
horrible.
love that.
Never tried that before as well, right? And that's the start of it. And I'm not a born sailor. I was seasick for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It was the worst experience.
That's like a flu.
It was the worst, way worse than a flu.
Yeah. Okay.
It was the worst I've ever tried in my life.
Yeah, that's fucking.
But what a fucking adventure.
Yeah, it was insane adventure. It was an insane adventure.
But you say you started from almost zero according to your cold exposure journey. So how did you train up from almost zero to becoming accustomed to so much cold?
Experience, and bit by bit, I'd say. I had some...
With water, cold dips?
Cold dips. I think the first real good test that it was in January of 19. I went out in the harbor in Copenhagen, and I gave myself the challenge of jumping in ice water for 7 days straight, only wearing Speedos, to see how it was,
started, yeah.
and to see how it could expand from there. And I remember I was in for 35 seconds the first day, and that's not impressive at all, right?
No.
It's my brother looks more like in the footage. He looks more like the Iceman than me, right? But then I looked through the footage, which is a good thing, whether when you're recording yourself, and I could see, I sort of in my mind I gave up, and I was sort of hyperventilating. I was not focusing on deep breaths, right? So I realized, okay, if I just focus on staying in control of my body and breathing. And then I slowly increased the time over that, so from half a second to 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science.
So you actually taught yourself how to calm down your nervous system,
Yes.
You look at the footage of yourself, you could see, okay, this guy is in panic, what can I do? Try to control my breathing. Okay, we'll take it from there. We'll upgrade it from there.
And bit by bit, right? And then in the last day, I was in for 11 minutes and 5 seconds. The last day after 7 days.
7 days?
So I was in for 7 days straight. And what really showed me was I couldn't have changed physically over the course of 7 days, right? And I went from 35 seconds to 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was all happening up here and through your breath, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't recommend anybody to, I was treading water. So that's also another experience. I couldn't feel like my nerves in the bottom of my arms were like paralyzed for 2 weeks. After the 11 minutes was the toughest one, right? And you also get to experience, like, you start with being cold in here, but then it becomes the blood
whole body
goes towards your core. So it's your fingers and your feet and your back that becomes really cold and tight.
Yeah.
So I got to experience like what happens when the body isn't cold, and how does it change throughout time, right?
So you didn't get any coaching. You haven't been meeting Wim Hof at that point.
No, I didn't even know who Wim was at the time.
No, it's just your own journey.
Yeah, I think it was around that time because I did that challenge and called it the Iceman Challenge. People texted me about, have you heard about Wim Hof? And then I started looking into the breathing there.
Was that why you did the Iceman Challenge? Where you got famous people?
That was why. So that was 6 months later during the summer when I realized, okay, I can't train in the cold in Denmark now. I couldn't. The project wasn't going according to plan. I had already set the date it was going to leave. I had paid the first deposit. I needed to bring some awareness, and I thought, okay, what can I do? So maybe I could do this gimmick where I invite famous Danish people into jumping in ice water to show how they can do more than they think they can. and to share the message about the project.
Steve Tøfting was amazing. He was fucking crazy. He was like, for how long?
It went viral. He was in for...
Jesus fuck.
I can't remember. I think he was in for 8 minutes.
What about 1,000?
And the funny thing with Steve was that I felt it was the worst episode because already after 1 minute he didn't want to stay in longer.
Yeah.
He wanted to get out and he was just complaining. And I pushed him, so you could always trigger people of how you say how long they've been in. Because I wanted him to show that he could stay in. And in the end he was way longer than, and he beated some of some people that he wanted to.
Who was the other people?
Like Camilla Martin, Peter Faltoft was the first. Some athletes, Therese Tobel, Kasper Steinfeld, Joachim Bolsen.
That's the not hockey, handball.
Yeah, handball. Yeah.
But Danish.
Jonathan Harbo, some actors.
But what was the purpose of it?
The purpose was just to do a fun gimmick that hopefully could spread awareness about the project. I think to grow social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it did in the end. It was always so fun because I was out doing like motivational speaks, and I asked how many know about Project Iceman. I also asked how many have seen an Iceman challenge. And at some point, more people had seen an Iceman challenge than they knew about Project Iceman.
Really?
Because the one with Camilla Martin and Steve Tøfting went viral on Facebook. So they had more than 2 million views or something like this, right? Wow. Which is insane in Denmark.
Yeah. So that's what people wanted to see.
Yeah, exactly. People suffering in the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people want to laugh at people. Haha, you fucker, you can't do it.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. But
and of course we talked about media. Ekstrabladet obviously did one as Steve Tøfting, and
they love that.
And Nation went crazy on,
Another thing though was interesting. I felt like in the documentary is your relationship with your brother.
Yeah.
He's been there from the very beginning. Like he was there, like
he was
on the first week, and he was like, "Yes, Project Iceman, let's do it in 30 seconds." I'd be like, if that was my brother, just fucking 30 seconds, but you're gonna do this in Antarctica.
Yeah, but he was actually the first one pushing me to like, okay, you need to jump in the water. You need to, try it, experience it. And I think he was just curious in the beginning to follow along, and then he was there for support as well, right?
Which was amazing. Been unique.
It was so unique, and you don't see that in the film, but I pitched him because I had a roommate I lived with at the time who was helping out, and we had a bit of a fallout in terms of his role and how that should work out. So I told him we couldn't work together on the project anymore, and then I was by myself. And then he came on. I asked him if he wanted to take over that role and help, and he said no.
Your brother?
Yeah. That was 10 months before the expedition. But then in November, when he had been on exchange, he had some fun in Colombia. And I hadn't settled the team at all. I told him, I want you to go on the expedition with me. Because I just knew I needed somebody there I could trust 100%, who knew me. And I knew he would do whatever it took. He's a jack of all trades, so he would be amazing to have like in charge.
You can see it too. Yeah. Like it's so easy to see when you see the documentary that his role has been like when you're there
instrumental. It was
stop bitching or what you're
exactly
saying, like,
but he was like in the end as well, when I doubted whether I could actually do it, right, he didn't doubt whether I could. He made sure that I continued, right. Where a doctor would probably would have pulled me out of the
for sure.
people with them, right.
Been like, fuck is that
so that was an incredible, like going to the end of the world together with your, like that's something
that is cool.
You can't put a price on that at all.
Especially when he's supporting it that much.
Exactly.
But his whole
he was the one
being.
When everybody was worn out in the end, he was the one that pulled me out of that freaking tent to finish it, right?
Yeah.
So he was an amazing role. And obviously also in the film to show that, I think that was what we wanted to show with the film as well, that oftentimes in documentaries, it's the relationship with your girlfriend or your wife or but we wanted to, here we could show a more genuine, one thing is your blood brother, but you can also relate to a friend who's like a brother to you. It's more universal. And the connection between us and how we help each other as friends or as brothers, right?
It's clear to see in the movie for sure. That's also, he has a big role in that.
100%.
That whole project, it feels like when you see it.
And the funny thing was that even though he wasn't, technically a part of it, when we look back at he was a part of it from the beginning when you look through all the footage, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was there when I just filmed myself in the living room. We were brainstorming on things. He was there when I jumped in the water. He was there all along, right?
Yeah, but it's also rare to get people that are that supportive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's that positive about something. Keep going, keep
and
doing
pushing you to do more and become better, right?
And never say negative shit. Never
exactly.
be like, why don't you just fucking quit? Or
obviously coming with some criticism or constructive feedback on what you know.
Just the attitude itself, like
it's so valuable and so rare today.
Exactly.
So it must have been unique for you to have that support.
100%. And also I hope you know, when we did the film and the tour, we asked what is your Iceman and what, because that's what it symbolizes. It should symbolize what is your biggest dream. And one said that his Iceman was to be what my brother was for me to somebody else. And I think that was beautiful. Like if that can inspire other people to be that kind of person to others, then it doesn't matter what you do anymore, right? Because then we're actually supporting each other to become better and live out our potential and become better humans.
Yeah, I think that's also what people don't understand in the society today is that just because someone is doing good, it doesn't mean you're doing bad. You know what I mean?
No.
Like everyone should do good.
Yes.
We should support everyone.
And it's not bad to try to become better or the better. You can always become a better version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's like life is an endless journey of evolvement and change, right?
Yeah.
What about him? Does he have an Iceman project himself?
I think he's still exploring.
Okay.
I'm not sure he has found it yet. So I think he's still exploring.
All right, cool.
What his Iceman will be, and he will get there. I'm pushing him. We're still pushing each other, right? And I think that's the. I live with him right now, but since I'm moving out of the country now, that will end. But we've always been good at, even though I'm 5 years younger. I'm 5 years older, which nobody can see or anything. So age-wise, it is sort of a big difference. But we've always been very close since we were kids. He was always playing, with us, playing football with us when I had friends over and stuff like that. So we'd already felt like we had the same age almost, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think he's my older brother when they watch the film, right?
But the older you get, the better it is to look young.
Yeah, true.
So it's good. But one thing you told me though during our training journey was that the next project you had was to join the Danish national team. I don't remember when, but I just knew that you were like 31 at that time or maybe 30. And your goal was to join the national team. And I asked you, do you play football now? No. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound realistic, but what the fuck do I know? And that's pretty much far ahead right now, right?
Yeah.
Where are you on that point now?
Still in the early phase, I would say. I think I'm sort of the chapter has closed with the film now, which was a bit part of producing the film. And I went back to training when we started training together. I sort of had to rebuild my body from an endurance sport to going back to football, which is more explosive, and have been more. My focus hasn't been to. It sounds counterintuitive, but just play games and go out to play. It's been actually to become a good footballer technically and have the foundation of moving on from there. And I feel I'm at that place now, and I've set the goal of. So the goal is still the same, to play for the national team, but specifically at the World Cup in 2026.
How old are you there?
I'll be 36. I'm 33 now, and I'll be 36 at the World Cup. And
26.
so,
but you're still pretty much longer down the road than you were at that point in terms of your football.
Definitely. So.
And you play at a club now as well, right?
I don't have a club right now. No. Okay. I've been training with a club where I have had like a technical coach I've been working with for 6 months. That has been game changing. So what has happened over the last 6 months is more than I've had my entire life, I think, when it comes to football. And there are so many aspects to that, but really working with intention and with what you do and being 100% present in what you do and how you do it, basically. And focus specifically on touch with football and technical foundation. And some of the sessions I had with him are like 2-3 hours long, and it's just repetition of the same small things. And it's so draining that you're not physically exhausted after, but you're mentally so drained because he's so good at making sure that every single touch and situation matters.
Yeah.
So there's, you're not allowed to, well, you are allowed to fail, but eventually you need to learn and have the courage to just, you should never you always give 100%. And always, you shouldn't, just safely try to get it back to him. You should do it with intention and touch. And coming to a point where I've over the summer been fortunate to train with Mads Juhl, who's now in the Premier League. He scored his first goal yesterday in Premier League for Luton.
Nice.
He was back home for some summer holiday and some off-season training. I trained with him. And I've been doing so past summers. And I could see that technically now, I would say we're on the same level.
Well, let's sum it up, because for me, I'm completely new to this project, right? Because I just saw Project 30, above 30, professional football player.
Yeah.
And from the documentary at least, it looks like you've been playing football as a child.
I did play as a child, yes, until I was...
When did you stop?
20-something, 22.
But what was that level?
That level was Denmark saying, so that's like the 4th, 5th best today.
In Denmark.
Yeah. So
but
it's
not
still,
pro at all. Not
how many practices a week?
3 practices a week.
3 practices a week and a game.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you put it away completely for 10 years?
I put it away for pretty much 10 years, yeah.
So you have some basic experience with football.
Basic experience,
and now you're picking it up and you know everything, you know the game, you know the basic...
I look at it from my journey to where I am now is so different than anyone else. I have basically a business background, right? I've done an extreme sport project.
Yeah.
So I'm exploring it from coming completely new to this game and trying to basically reinvent it and figure out what does it take to be a professional footballer and looking at all elements of it. So basically I've divided the project into football-wise divided into 4 aspects. So there's the tactical, the technical is the first thing people think of, the technical level of playing football. There's the tactical, the understanding of the play, then there's the physical, and then there's the mental, right?
And then there's the political.
That's what I was about to say.
So, and that's my biggest concern. I believe 100% in you, but my biggest concern is that football is so much more than just football, unfortunately.
Yeah. True.
You have to know the right people. You have to be...
humble as shit, because as soon as you go into... I play basketball, so I don't know football, but I know basketball.
Yeah.
And especially also when you're not tall. So... you have to be so fucking humble every time you go in. You have to be better than the best person and continuously be better than them until they start respecting you. And then you have to make the coach see you.
You're exactly saying what you're in control of.
Yeah.
Your level, your skill.
Yes.
So in the end, you are in control because I know I just have to be good enough. I have to be so good that they can't ignore me, right? And I know because of my age, because of my background, compared to a 17-year-old, if he succeeds 1 out of 10 times, they will look at the time he succeeds. If I succeed 9 out of 10 times, they will focus on the time I didn't succeed.
Yeah.
So that's why my level has to be so good.
So fucking good, yeah.
I can't be at the same level. So that's why, and that's why it's counterintuitive that I'm not playing games, that I'm not in a high club already. Because obviously, I have tried to bring that in slowly because playing is one thing. But my foundation of being a footballer needs to be so good that I can technically, I don't have to worry about my touch. I don't have to worry about which leg. I can use both legs now. I shoot strong. I'm always been right-legged, never trained my left leg.
Yeah.
But now I realized, then I'm only exploring then I'm a 50% football player of what I can be.
Yeah. You're easy to defend as well.
Yes. So now, and way easier to defend. So and it's actually been easier to train my left leg because I've had to relearn some things with my kicking ability with my right leg that I had to do with my left leg. And my left leg is stronger because it's been my balancing leg. So I can shoot stronger with my left leg as well. But that means now I can play both wings.
Yeah.
I can. I was out training with a friend of mine, some self-training, but where he's then in the box, and I just switched side on doing, crosses, and it didn't matter which leg I was shooting with, right? So like I'm looking at all things I can optimize within the technical aspect. Then there's the tactical aspect, the football understanding, watching games, understanding how you move, because that's obviously a very big part of it. And what I've been doing there is working again with technically great players. And then, in the beginning it's just you and a coach. Then it's been 1v1, 2v2, integrating play with technically very good players. Yeah. And slowly building that up to a foundation where I know I'm technically at the level. Now it obviously then comes the whole play and understanding, which is something that's
leadership stuff like that too. How to be how to have a role, because that's also, I'm only speaking from my own experience, but I can imagine that there's so, like, if you play one position, you gotta have one role. If you play a center mid, you have to be like a workhorse or some shit like that, or you have to fit that role mentally as well.
Do you know your position yet?
I'll play right or left wing back.
It will make the journey much easier if you know that beforehand, right?
It makes it easier. That's where I can still play on my strengths. Your role is in some way more simple. It's easier for me to stand out if I can come in continuous rush from defensive position and make a difference in both ends. Do
you think your age will be a barrier?
No. Only perception wise.
Yeah. But in terms of attracting yourself into
I think initially yes, because people hear my age and then they think that's not possible. But when I play with people, they forget about it instantly.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I know the challenge for me is I'm not just gonna take the first and best deal. I need to find the right club where everything needs, where there's a long-term perspective in it, right? And where I can't just start from.
But it also, you have an angle on it too with your following now.
Yes.
You have a world record, or you're pioneering a certain thing. Like, I'm thinking, I know it's completely different, but the YouTubers that box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
So what you saying, that there is the political side of it, and I'm looking at it from the commercial side of it, like
network perspective.
Yes. So what am I bringing to a club outside of the football pitch? And I know the challenge for me because of my age is that nobody thinks they will ever make a dime on me. So what I'm focusing on is how can I deliver value upfront to a club. So when they sign me, they will sell X amount of shirts. It will generate X amount of awareness. It will bring, the next documentaries following along. So all these things of what will I actually give to the, how can I bring value to the club?
So you have to sign a club that's interested in those terms.
Yes, but basically it's all clubs are commercial, like they're interested in value,
for sure.
Yeah, but it's also like when you hear, okay, Usain Bolt is gonna start, okay, everyone's gonna fucking want to get him. Yeah. Because he's fast and he's got a huge, they're gonna make hella money at the end of the day. That's what football is about, is making money.
Yeah.
So they look at these things now. They look at social media. They look at these.
But still, it hasn't happened to me, right? Because they're still hesitant to. Again, it's back to the show, not tell, and pitching is telling, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I've decided to go to Brazil.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for the right, I know it won't happen in Denmark.
Yeah, really? Because I was about to ask you, how has it been so far?
I think the mentality is that in Denmark is just different. Another thing I'm looking at is obviously to make it to the national team. Where do I then need to play? Because you're backtracking, instead of just going for where you should backtrack. Yeah, and I can just now. Okay, Nicolai Wallis was. He was put into the team. So there's one Superliga player now.
Yeah.
But for the previous X amount, there hasn't been a maximum one player, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that.
You gotta be the best in the fucking league.
So, and I think I have a thesis that I think it will be more difficult for me to play in the Super League in Denmark than it will be to get to the national team, because they're not even giving me a tryout.
But again, law of Jante, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
And I totally understand. I have nothing against it. When I'm pitching myself is to say I'm a no risk bet, because if I'm not good enough, then I'm obviously not gonna play.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not.
But do they give you the chance to prove yourself, like performance wise, or is it only pitching yourself?
Not so far, no.
Okay.
I haven't had any chances.
They're hesitant, but that's also, I think from a goal perspective, I think it's very smart what you're doing, because it's much better to put, I would say, China. I've been in China. Like, that's a place where you would be able to do something like that too, and you would be able to play on a high level in front of a lot of people fairly quick. I'm just thinking. But anyway, like, put yourself in an environment where you don't have anything else. Like, that's the Superliga would be the worst place for you, because you have everything right here. So you have people asking you to go out for beer as well. But if you live in Brazil, you live in China, you live in fucking Japan, that's it.
True.
When you wake up and this is what you do, you go to bed and this is what you do, and your mind is focused on it. You have nothing there, and you don't want to get any friends, and you can't speak to people.
No.
Perfect.
But you still have to think about, how do I get from A to B?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
And the farther you get, the farther you get away from Europe and Denmark in particular, the harder this will be.
True.
So that's a perspective.
I'm looking at this perspective now I'm still on the journey to become the best football player I can be. So I'm looking at where can I make that happen. And I know in order to become the best, I need to play with the best. And right now I can't play with the best.
No.
But I know in Brazil, the amateurs are some of the best that you can find. I can go to the beach on the first day, play all kinds of football. I will come with a completely different story. I'll come as a Scandinavian to Rio. I'm not sure any football player has ever played in any of the top leagues in Brazil. Brazil is a huge country, so hopefully generating a buzz and presence there, and explore football opportunities and commercial opportunities, and in the end, see where it takes me until the rest of this year, and learning Portuguese, and then hopefully I know I will probably have to go back to Europe, and looking at, okay, next summer could I go back to play in Portugal, Spain, Italy, explore opportunities there. But I think right now, as you said, I feel like I need a reset.
Oh, for sure.
Complete reset, where there is
exactly what you mean.
New country, new people, new
Nobody
language.
knows you.
Nobody knows me.
Okay, for sure.
And I think it's also, again, I'm documenting this journey as well. And I think it's beautiful because if the Iceman now had been a huge commercial success, I had 1 million followers, and then everybody say, you could get a tryout because of that.
Yeah.
Right now I can't get a freaking tryout in the 3rd, maybe even the 4th best league in Denmark, right?
Why not though? They don't.
That's because of our mentality,
They're that indoctrinated in some shit.
Yeah. But so that's your perspective of wanting to go to Brazil, but also to like play with people that are better than you.
Is to play with people that are better than me, still become better, have fun while doing it. And they play different kind of football. They play when you think of football, you think of Brazil. To me, it's more exciting. I think it's an adventure. It will be way better content as well. And I know in this journey, as we talked about, I to jump things in the short amount of time I have, I need to make content. I need to generate commercial interest for clubs. And Brazil is a better story as well, I think. I have this vision that the first episode of the Darker series starts in Rio, because that is the complete opposite of Antarctica and the Iceman, right? And I think for this, I have had the idea for the past 6 months. And because things haven't planned out over the summer, I think now I'm just following my intuition. And I don't have all the answers, but the answers will
That's
always come.
Go back to the passion, the spirituality,
the fun
together
of it,
with the intellectual, because you're still analyzing.
Yes.
It's not like you're saying, fuck, I'm only following my intuition, because then, There's still reason, there's still plenty of reason to go to Brazil. But you take the input, like, that's also another interesting thing where you said, the first idea I got was Antarctica.
Yeah.
Think about that, the first fucking thing you research, that's what you end up doing, right? How often does that happen?
Yeah.
But it happens when it's the right thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Then it happens.
Yeah.
I think that's the right way to make the decision. I think it's a good idea. And if you think about it, if you want to be a wing back, Brazil has some of the best, right?
Marcelo and Dani Alves is like my...
idols.
I remember when I look back, that's like... And I think the way I love... Because obviously it's skill and understanding, but football is also so much energy.
Oh yeah.
People neglect like the energy, and those players, you know what they're gonna deliver, and they do it game after. You can always count on what they come with, right?
But the only danger about this is, and that's why I stopped playing basketball back then, because I also always had a dream of becoming a professional. First of all, I'm not tall enough, so that's also one of the reasons. But second of all, you always are not 100% in control. Because one person, if the coach don't like you, then you can be sitting on the bench for a year. And you go to another club and the coach likes you, like, why the fuck has this guy played you before?
Yeah.
And then you got to start from scratch in some way again. So you got to find a way also to kind of avoid that.
No, well, I think, Red Bull said no to me for the Project Iceman, right?
Yeah.
You will always get no's. But and a good friend of mine told me this, that no stands for next opportunity.
Yeah.
New opportunity.
But what I'm saying is not a no.
True, but it's tough times.
Yeah.
Tough times.
Oh,
that's
for
what
sure.
that's what makes you in the end.
Well, I'm just thinking 26.
I know. I don't have but that's also why I know that I don't need to make quick decisions. I need to make the right decisions. And I'm not just taking the first and the best club, because that's also going to be an anchor point. I need to jump it somehow, get it, an impossible tryout somewhere with a club where the sports director see an idea with it, and the coach sees what I can bring, not only as a football player but also.
Would it be a benefit to mention the projects, or would that be a barrier?
I think it's a benefit because it shows at least people are not worried about the physical and mental aspect of what I can bring, right? And I hope that when the film is out, people because I want to explore the game of football in new ways on every aspect. So and how can you do it as a team? How can you I'm thinking, football is made of two halves. What if you look at each half as a game in itself and you go out and try to win each half? And how will that impact your results at the end of the season? How can you work with mentally all aspects of the game, right?
I got an idea. Does it have to be the Danish national team?
Yes, because otherwise it wouldn't prove anything.
Will you still be at the World Cup? No, you wouldn't.
Not necessarily. And I think in the end...
Yeah, that's just a part of the goal.
If I want to show Denmark something, then it has to be the Danish national, and that's the dream. It has to...
it relates to your dream, to your childhood dream, right?
What about you? What is because you must have a lot of inside knowledge of the football. What is your perspective on all this?
But my biggest concern is that there is so much in football, like I said, that you're not in control of. And without mentioning any players, I have some high-profile players who is in this mess. I've been working with them for many years. We've been working so hard. They are amazing football players. They are beasts. They do everything right. But for some reason, the coach just doesn't prefer them.
Yeah.
Because he sees something in the other people, or he just don't like them as they are, So there's so many aspects there, but of course it shouldn't be a barrier because you don't know what it's going to be like.
No.
Maybe you're going to be the person that he likes.
Yeah.
And football is just a complex sport.
It is.
Maybe the most complex sport.
I think it is definitely one of them, and obviously the most competitive sport of all.
Yeah.
And a lot of money. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of
corruption.
There's a lot of politics in it as well, right?
Yeah, which is corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get your finances while staying in Brazil? Are you going to find a job? Do you have the money now?
Luckily, the football project is not as expensive as the Iceman project, but basically I'm just keeping my expenses to an absolute minimum.
Okay.
And then during a few sponsorships, not that many. But otherwise just keeping expenses at the absolute lowest and
at a minimum,
Yeah.
That's what's going to be the most fun.
Yeah.
That's what, when you look at all great people, not all great people, but some great people, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all these people, they all describe how they were able to live under $1 a day and how they were able to live off of oranges and hot dogs. And Steve Jobs would walk fucking 10 kilometers down to get his, his meal at the Hare Krishna or whatever, and they all describe this as the, when you can do that, then you can truly become great.
Yeah.
When you can live off a fucking bare minimum.
Yeah.
I think that's a good starting point, and Brazil's good for that because
Brazil is good for that, country. Yeah. And then I'm obviously looking at how can you involve the people following, and then actually, because what I need money for is not myself. Actually, it's just to have it, so we can make a docu-series, so people actually, I can pay the people that film. I can hopefully have someone like you, like doing coaching sessions, doing physio, like all these things around. So just to optimize, and obviously also having a cold bath or sauna, all the I'm only looking to optimize for the for the content wise, and in the end, number one, my physical capability.
You're just trying to
right?
reach the fucking goal.
I'm not caring about how I live, as long as I can get good sleep in my high quality sleep in my bed. The rest doesn't matter at all. I don't need salary I don't need anything from a club. I just need to give everything, basically.
Okay, do you think, I think a big advantage for you is you being actually over 30, because you can make smart decisions that young people in football cannot make.
It is my advantage that I think, and that is, my story is so different, my experience so different, that I come with a completely different perspective, and mentally as well, of course. And that's also what I hope that I can bring to a team and a club and to the younger players, right? And have an impact, not only on the pitch myself, but in the dressing room as well, and with the other
role.
Yes, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And be so when you're saying the coach, how can I help the coach in his role as well, and make the whole team better overall, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that's why I need to have a coach that I connect with, right? That
that's key.
100%.
And when you visualize that goal, whether it's the Ironman or the Project 30, do you only see yourself as completing the goal? Or do you have some second thoughts, or not second thoughts, but doubts in the back of your head?
Of course you have doubts.
Yeah.
I think people think that the most successful people don't have doubts, but we all have doubts. And the bigger goals we set, the bigger doubts we will naturally have. I heard somebody say it's like an unavoidable tax you have to pay. The same as the more money you make, the more taxes you have to pay. Same, the bigger the goal, the bigger the doubt. But for me, I see you just have to understand that it's a natural part of the process, and it's what triggers you. It's what makes you reflect. It's what makes you push you forward.
But I think the more the doubt becomes a part of the visualization, the lower a chance of completion you'll have.
100%.
I see that for myself. The more I can visualize success, the more I can see this is the only outcome.
Yes.
The higher a chance.
But that's why I never give in to the doubt.
So you let it be there.
I let it be a feeling, as saying it's natural right now. When you're exhausted, when you haven't slept properly, the more dark thoughts you're going to have, the more doubt you're going to have.
Yes.
But you need to focus, worrying about that is not going to bring forward.
You're in control of that as well.
You can change that. Yeah. And it's obviously a process, continuous process. But in the end, for me, it's just being aware of your thoughts and why you're having them, and not giving into them. And as you say, I have a clear vision, and that's always what I'm focusing on. And I go back to the Iceman. I had this vision that I was going to finish on the glacier. I couldn't see how, but I trusted it would happen. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah.
Do you use visualization in your practice? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I use it consciously and subconsciously, I'd say. So I have the goal written up in my bed, in front of my bed. So I know exactly, like every day I get up, I know exactly why I'm
here.
I'm here, and subconsciously, like I do it as well in journal. And
what does it say?
It says, I think it says, I will score for Denmark at the FIFA World Cup in 2026.
There you go.
Yeah. And then that's when I go to bed, I don't do it every night, but oftentimes I visualize that moment. And there are a few moments I then visualize before going to bed.
Yeah. I mean,
that's nice.
It's a hell of a project, and it's also something that it's probably similar to the Antarctica one. You will hear people all the way time say, you can't do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to say that, of course. No. Of course we would never do it. But it's still in my mind, I'm like, that shit is one fucking, that's a hell of a challenge. Yeah,
it is. And for me, myself, I can't give myself a bigger challenge, but it's also the only challenge that I can ever give. It is the true challenge for myself.
imagine if everyone had that mindset, if it was embedded in our nature to just say, fuck it, we can do everything that we want to. There are no limits.
Yeah.
We can do everything that we want to. Imagine the support we would have for each other. Imagine there would be no limits for our achievements and evolution as a human species, But it's so rare.
It is rare.
It's so fucking rare.
Yeah, we would also have a whole different science than what we have now. I think so too, because right now science only focuses on the intellect. It doesn't focus on the passion. It doesn't focus on all of these things that you can't explain.
It's because you can't explain them, you can't measure them.
Then it doesn't exist.
No.
And the people that has done the greatest things that can't be explained, they attribute it to that.
Yeah.
Or at least a part of it is to that. We would have such a better, society if we did that. That's what we've been talking, all the guests that we have. They all have a similar, understanding of why we do things.
Yeah, and I think the challenge for most people is that we want certainty.
Yes.
Right? And the bigger the challenge, the more uncertainty. And that's why it's so important that you not are too focused on how far you have left. Obviously, you should have the vision and the goal and then focus on the next steps. You can't see how it's going to make sense, but just trust the process and know as long as you follow your intuition, it will make sense. And right now, as we talk, there's a lot of, you need to meet people along, we can't do everything ourselves. We need to meet the right people along the way.
Yeah.
But as with the Iceman journey, I never found the right people. They found me. As long as I was going, that's just energy, you were right, you will find each other.
You're attracted, but you were able to recognize it. And that's also, there's so much BS, there's so much bullshit around, and it's difficult for people to navigate it because they don't really know. And I think that's also going to be a very.
But I think people know, they just don't listen to.
Oh,
themselves.
they know. And the way that you can do it is you take a coin and you say, if I do it, I'll do whatever the coin says. But still, the second it fucking hits you and you haven't seen it yet, you know what kind of which one you want to take.
Yes.
You kind of.
That's why I say.
You open, you're like, fuck.
When you're in doubt, you're never in doubt. People say they're in doubt, but they could make the choice.
But sometimes it's so subtle.
Yeah.
And if you fucking, if you push it away with alcohol and weed and
postpone
and lack of sleep and video games, well, how are you gonna, see shit? So that routine that you have is key. And I can feel it now too. That's why I'm doing this kind of little experiment that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can feel it now. Like, I'm just not myself.
No.
And it's so important to have that sleep. It's so important to have those ice baths and all these things because everything.
That's what makes that's the discipline you need and the foundation to make.
For sure.
Possible,
you need that foundation.
Yes. And you need to be in the best place yourself in order to deliver, right?
But that's something we didn't know 100 years ago. That's still pretty mainstream, and it comes to our benefit now that we have so many opportunities to optimize our health.
Yeah.
And it's also a question that I ask all the guests, really. But what is your routine from everything to physical training, diet, cold exposure, whatever? What is your health routine that gets you in the right place?
I think I have like the prioritization that I put it up. I think because it's contradictory to most people. People think that training is the most important. And for me, it's not the most important. Number one is sleep, optimizing sleep quality, because that's where all development and progress happen physically and mentally. Next is nutrition, like what we put in our bodies. Also the way we do it, like intermittent fat. It's the same. When I say nutrition, there's both what you eat and what you don't eat, and when you eat.
And when you eat.
And when you eat. After training, like all these things, right? And then there's the whole, how would you say, like active recovery or more your general well-being, like mobility work, stretch work, fascia, sauna.
But that works
breath work.
in under the component of physical exercise, right?
Yeah. So but I've put it in. It is sort of, but I put it as number 3, and then the 4th is football specific training, right? Well, cardio, maybe like being in good shape, comes before then the technical, because in order to optimize the technical, all the other things need to be good.
Yeah.
So there's sleep, number 1, nutrition, number 2, recovery, number 3.
Yeah. and then come the
What about nutrition-wise? Which path have you chosen?
Yeah, I would like to hear that. Do you have any professional help for that?
No, not except like the inspiration, like that. I think that's the beautiful of today's world. You have you don't need to be friends with.
No.
You can just go on YouTube and you like
find your own path.
We can be best friends without me actually knowing you, because I just follow your all your content, right? I know what you're doing. The same with Andrew Huberman, Joe Rogan. Like you have access to everyone, right? And what I've been most focused on is eating natural, organic food. So as little processed food as you can do. I only drink water.
And by natural foods, you mean foods that you can find in nature?
Organic, yeah, exactly.
So what you can go into the wildlife and pick up there, whether it's animal-based or plant-based.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of living in Denmark. There's so much, like, there is good, organic, healthy food available, right?
There is.
There's also a lot of shit.
There is also a lot of shit.
But we have good conditions.
So avoiding that, and then...
And water?
Water. And then supplements, I do creatine, magnesium, D vitamin, omega-3, and then I do athletic greens in the morning. And then I've done some of that's also what I wanted to hear. Always interested in what you're doing, because I can't be a expert in everything. I'm more of a generalist and following the people that then I expect to get input on what is the optimal.
Well, the number one thing is to get your blood tested.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just guesswork, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Where do you get your blood tested?
Doctor.
Well, normally, now I just got it at the doctor, but normally I pay a lab called Nordic Lab here in Denmark. There's numerous of those in other countries to get my blood tested. It's super expensive, but you get the whole palette. Okay. Literally everything.
You can measure everything.
From hormones to vitamins, minerals, even what's called sperm quality. Okay. You know, everything you can get tested. But recently I just thought that maybe it can be done cheaper, so I called the doctor and say, hey, I have some issues, I'm tired all the time, blah, blah, blah. Can you test can you test my testosterone? Yeah. And she said, yeah, just come up and we can test everything. Okay. So I got literally almost everything tested. Yeah. But based on those results, you have to integrate what you need. Otherwise you're just
exploring.
Guessing, right? So it sounds to me that you got some good basics, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No. Magnesium is for everyone. Yeah. Vitamin D here in Denmark or in the Northern Hemisphere, that's for everyone. Omega-3, guess you don't go wrong with that. No. I use the cod liver oil, which is kind of the same. It's just more natural, less processed. So that's my suggestion to you. And then we can discuss whether we have to go vegan or carnivore. But we have had that discussion many times, because he's vegan and I'm
vegetarian. I'm not fully vegan.
Vegetarian.
But I also think like that's the funny thing with the world, that we want everything is slow. Like it needs to be either or like we're all different human beings. Like some people, there's something that you can't eat, because it depends on how do you feel, right?
But in the end, it's your own choice. If you want to eat McDonald's every day, go ahead.
Be my guest.
Who am I to judge? Yeah. You know, mind your own business.
I'm actually thinking, what if you did, let's say, vegetarian or a meat diet, if you kind of did it in cycles? How would that be? Like if you always talk to vegetarians.
I think that will be very bad. Because then you get your digestive system accustomed to not eating meat. Okay, then you eat meat, then you not eat meat. So you keep being in that bad cycle, you know.
You're not getting used to.
So you keep adapting.
Forget it.
We forget that.
But
But what about the water thing? Do you care about the quality of the water?
Yeah, I would do more. I just haven't set up like the proper system in my own place. But that's definitely
Brazil anyway.
And now you're moving, and then it gets
Brazil.
even harder.
It is. That is just it could require some.
But it always depends on how deep you want to go.
Yeah. You can make your own.
Yeah.
Fucking charcoal and whatever.
Yeah,
sand.
that's one way to do it. You know, I think the worst contaminant is fluoride, and you have to have a reverse osmosis filter to get that away. Yes. So again, it depends on.
Yeah, you need to have the reverse too in order to get the fluoride out of the water.
Even only some reverse osmosis. I know that a lot don't do it.
Yeah.
So but again, the fluoride is kind of a neglected thing because you cannot directly feel it on your day-to-day basis.
No, exactly.
But it's also just the mentality, right? It's the same as the goal. You do something in 2026, or what, you're trying to clean your water?
Yeah.
Or you can either buy the 10,000 one, or you can do it yourself for 100. Like me. I wanted a sauna too. Well, fuck it, I just built a steam bath. Because I want the fucking heat. I'm not wanting a sauna.
I'm the guy that buys everything, you're the guy that builds everything.
I love it. But this shows there's always different options, right? And you choose.
And we don't have to be enemies because of that, you know. But the world wants us to be like that. But back to the subject, I want to know more about what you do to optimize.
Yeah. For nutrition-wise, or?
Yeah, just for everything.
For everything, but basically, my main focus is optimizing my sleep, like having a fixed sleeping schedule.
How do you do that?
So going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time in the morning. Usually, go to bed at around 10, so I sleep at 10:30 latest, and then get up at 7 in the morning.
And that's every day, 7 days a week.
I mean, it is a little tough with football because oftentimes if you have late session, so then it's difficult for your body to wind down, right?
Adrenaline, pumping.
But otherwise, it is my number one because I can just feel the difference.
Yeah.
If I don't get my sleep, now I feel hungover if I don't get.
And like you said before we recorded, like if you don't have to sleep, you don't have anything else.
You could forget it.
That's why the foundation.
Exactly. That's why it's number one. Also, I prioritize sleep over a workout.
Yeah.
If or other stuff. Sleep is number one.
So you have a consistent sleep schedule.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if I'm later to sleep than I would, I try to sleep the same amount of hours, or I then take a nap, right?
And how often do you deviate from your consistent sleep schedule?
For the past weeks, it's been too much of a deviation because there's been fluctuations in my program. So obviously also because I'm exploring options and moving out of the country now. So I'm looking forward to getting a base and getting back to like having the base and also having my morning routine, which is getting up at 7, then go for a walk, go out, get some sunlight, go back, do a cold shower. Well, I start with a warm and then end with a cold shower. And then I usually do like breath work in the morning. I love to do like stretch and breath work to get the body started.
So and increase the core temperature, get the body going.
Yeah, and then journaling in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I've had like I do the creatine and the greens in the morning as the first thing, and then I go for the first workout before I have the first meal of the day.
So you do it fasted.
Yeah. The first training fasted.
I love that. We love that.
Follow basically the intermittent. I try to have my last meal around 6. So exactly not to eat too. Again, I think
so it's 10 to
you don't realize it until you start to optimize. You can see it, you can feel it. Your sleep is so much worse when you eat late.
Yeah.
You're having a tougher time falling asleep.
Sure it is.
And
the more processes that are going on in your body, the less processes your brain will have to
it's the most logical
rest.
thing.
Yeah. So that's like my main.
And you track your sleep, right?
Yeah.
You have this is the Oura ring, right?
Yeah.
What is that though?
It measures your basically like a watch. It measures your heart rate and your
the sleep stages,
your oxygen level. Yeah, your activity during the day, your recovery.
Do you feel you need it?
I don't feel I need it, but it's nice to have an indicator.
My problem with those tools were that I thought it made me dull. You know, I was just like, okay, then I just rely on that and I shut my brain off. Yeah. You know, because I have this one to teach me.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I just feel like I can feel when I'm
100%.
I didn't sleep well, and I know when I slept good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I try to use it sometimes more to see, like exactly the effect of eating late or the effect of having alcohol. All these things that would you see how bad of an effect it actually has, because that makes you reinforce why you shouldn't do it, because so
Yeah, for sure.
So you do make the right choice because you can actually see how it impacts straight off. Yeah.
And what else do you do? What is your priority list?
My priority list is doing like mobility work every day. I'm focused on, in order to make it happen, I have to avoid injuries and being at the peak, like physically all the time as much as possible. So focusing on recovery, doing saunas. I do sauna once a week to follow the protocol that Susanne Søberg follows, like to increase your testosterone level.
Only once per week?
Yeah, because that's what the protocol says.
It says once per week? Wow.
Yeah, once per week, and then you do 2 rounds of 30 minutes, and then you do that twice in the same day.
2 rounds of
30 minutes, yeah.
That sounds insane.
Yeah, it is tough.
Does she say how many degrees?
Yeah, they say... I can't remember because I heard it from Hofman. He said it in Fahrenheit, but I think it's around 85 to 90 degrees.
Yeah, I believe like the scientific studies says 80 and above.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to sit in
it's
80
tough.
degrees.
It's tough.
30 minutes times 2.
Yeah.
But I heard something else. I heard like it's like 2 to 3 times a week sauna is the best thing.
Okay. But I think it's depending what you're up to. There are different studies on depends on
to
what you're optimizing for.
But yeah, you're not optimizing your sperm quality for sure.
No.
That's not what you're doing. That's what
but
I
again,
heard they use in Japan for prevention.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Sauna?
I've heard that the reason that the balls are outside of your body is because it's good
to cool it down, yeah.
to cool it down.
That's why you shouldn't use the warmers in the seats in your car.
Yeah, because I've heard that, and I've heard that with sauna as well. But yeah, it makes sense. So you're not allowed to heat up the
balls. That's why some
testicles.
people take ice packs on their balls when they go into sauna in some places. I've heard.
That's fucking good.
But I mean, I need.
That's not good. I'm a bit worried now.
But you can just test it and see. You can test your sperm quality.
Yeah,
right?
but I tested mine a couple of years ago when we tried to get pregnant. That was.
It was not good, or
that was. I don't know how you say it, but below average.
Okay.
Which was why we tried for 10 years
to
do it. But also my entire youth, I've been sitting with my laptop on my lap, and I didn't know about radiation at that time, and I've been using a sauna a lot.
And the heat.
Yeah, and the heat, so there can be many variables.
Yeah,
but then what about if you combine it with cold exposure? So you cool down the balls and you heat up the balls. I think that must be better, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too.
But I think it's not something your body can change, similar to mine right now. I feel like shit because I've been.
It depends on it depends on what you're optimizing for. I'm optimizing for playing football and not to have kids right now.
For sure.
So I think that's I think that's another advantage I have compared to other footballers. I'm 33, but I don't have a family. I don't have a partner.
For sure.
So I have the flexibility to do, like, I'm still just myself.
You can get your sleep. You can follow your dreams. You can do whatever.
Yeah.
But what about girlfriend-wise? I don't remember having been knowing you while you had a partner.
No, I haven't had a partner for. I've had a partner, and that was the project I spent 5 years.
That ended 6 months ago?
Yeah, well, Project Iceman, or it hasn't really ended because the film is not going to be fully out until the end of this year, where we release it on YouTube. Yeah. So then it's going to be fully out. Yeah, we're still having we released it on our own platform, and the next phase we're releasing it on for rent on Amazon, Apple TV, and then it's going to go out for YouTube on YouTube.
What about Yes Theory? Are they not interested in this next one?
We haven't talked about a full collaboration and how that would look like. Obviously, we're using each other for, again, commercial opportunities, and there might be something where.
Well, they can't say no. That's again their concept.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be seeking discomfort then, yeah. I'm very close and good friends with the guys, so we're always in dialogue and discussing projects with each other. Yeah. But for now, it's more independent.
So you bring your camera team down to Brazil, right?
No, because
Or you just
well, again,
alone by yourself?
it's keeping expenses low, right? So right now it's too expensive for me to bring a guy. Also because Brazil is Brazil.
But don't you need some documentation?
Yes, but I'm bringing my own equipment, and then I'm finding local people, because I think it's good to, when you start in Rio, a new country, new place.
Yeah.
So you're traveling down there all
I'm traveling
by yourself.
all by myself. I've rented an Airbnb for the first week. I'm leaving on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you'll know I'll be on the beach in Ipanema, and then I'm just exploring.
With a gin
From
tonic.
then on. Not with a
I
gin
don't
tonic.
think there will be any gin tonics down there.
No drinking.
Yeah, that was actually why we had to do it now, because you were in a rush.
Yeah.
And you were actually willing to postpone it to get to here. So that's
We
nice.
should do another checkup after a
For
couple of months.
sure.
Once we did that, we had
For
we do an online one.
Yeah.
So how long are we planning on staying there?
Initially, I have like a tourist visa for 3 months, so that's until beginning of December. But
Maybe we can just do a physical then.
Yeah, but I definitely want to stay there until January,
That shit,
and potentially stay until next. It depends on what happens, right? So I'm pretty flexible. So right now,
that's also what happens, you know. Like someone gives you an opportunity
100%.
there, or someone in Italy calls you
and that's another thing of why I haven't pushed for finding a club, because once you have a club, then you have no flexibility and no opportunity to travel and explore, right? So now without a club, I can go to Brazil. If something should come along the way when I'm in Brazil, I could travel. I can meet with people. I can meet with players, clubs anywhere. So I'm keeping like all options are.
Yeah, and it's also not
open,
to
right?
force it, you know.
Yes.
Let it come naturally.
We should definitely have a follow-up.
Yeah, we have to.
Either physically or
but
online.
Now, let's say, if this is the national team and this is me, where are you? I'm not that bad, but okay, yeah. So you're right here.
I'm right
already.
Below. Yes.
But how?
Okay, so technically,
I would say. I mean, it is until I've played with the best players on a field, it's difficult exactly to know. But I know with the players I've been training with over the summer, that you, like Masoud said, you wouldn't be able to know that you're not a professional.
So you're only waiting for the opportunity.
I'm waiting for the opportunity to show myself, because obviously that's the only thing I can do, right? And then I'll know. Then everybody will know.
That no one even. It's a fucking business. Why don't they take you in?
But again, I think eventually somebody will, and I don't need 1,000 people to believe it. I just need one coach or sports director, and they will come, and then it will be the right. And I think that's what I've learned from pitching for my entire years. When I started my own business, when I did the Project Iceman, all the I pitched to Red Bull. We pitched to it never worked out with those, because it was not supposed to work out with those, right? And eventually the right people and the right organizations, they will find you, as long as you continue on your journey. And that's what I'm doing now with Brazil. It's not going to make sense to a lot of people, but that's not important. What is important is that it makes sense to yourself, and that you're having fun 100%. Along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And exploring, and the only certainty I have is that I know that I can go on the beach the first day and play football. I don't know where else I could do that in the world and play with players that are probably better than ones I've ever played with.
You're already on the national team, so you would already be able to train with the national team, let's say.
I don't know until I do it, and I'm not going to say that I am. I need to show it, obviously. But in my mind, I am.
Yes.
And I have no doubt that I have the technical capabilities. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity to show it. And that's in the end all that matters. Doesn't matter what I say I am or what it matters what I but I have the belief has to start within yourself. Otherwise it's never gonna happen.
For sure.
And I believe it's possible. I'm not naive about it. I know it's gonna be freaking challenges. There's so many challenges along the way.
Is there something that you say you still have to work on that? It's not completely
it never ends. I will always work on my technical capabilities. I will always work on my tactical. I'm still working on my physical. I'm trying to be the fastest I've ever been. Working, on exploring that. Strength. Working on mental. It never ends.
Okay.
Never ends.
Okay.
Like optimizing nutrition still.
Yeah.
Like it's a never ending process.
Yeah.
I will never reach.
Is there something that the other football players that you've been practicing with compliment you on? That they say, you're fucking good at this? Or are they just like, you're good at everything?
The players so far, I think they've been more surprised at the level that I'm at technically.
Yeah. So it's a technical level.
So right now they are surprised that I can actually play.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing that from what I've heard, because they're not surprised about my physical or mental capability.
No, that could be a fucking...
And I think that what has been cool and the exciting part is that the most players I've been training with, they want to train with me because it's fun, because we push each other, and I demand more of myself, but also demand of the players that I'm playing with. And we're not just showing up and I think that's the challenge. A lot of people just show up to do the hours of training, but it's not the hours it's not the quantity of your training, it's the quality and the intention. Yeah. Why are we doing this? Yeah. And until we do it, it's not until you do it right, it's until you can't get it wrong. And that's and I think that's the beauty of, that's why you can't become a good footballer without having the passion for it, because I can stand on the pitch for 3 hours straight doing the same passing drill, but I can just do it forever, because until it's just the feeling of perfection and how you hit it. Like it's difficult to describe, and that's why it's difficult to explain why is it my biggest dream. But for me, it's just football is where I've gotten into a flow state that you can't explain. Yeah, where everything just makes for sure. It's a higher, for sure. And but I also say football can be the worst thing in the world if you're training with people that are don't have the same mentality and way they go about it. In the end, I don't care about your level, but I care about, are you 100% dedicated to what you do? If you're not, then
fuck off.
We're not gonna work together, because I want, when you're there, it's 100% intention and doing your best.
Yeah, I'm looking so much forward to...
we'll definitely do a catch-up on that one.
To hear and everything. Yeah, we need to keep in touch during the last 3 months, and you have to let us know how it goes, whether you stay there or not.
Sure.
And then we'll do a follow-up.
When you run, do you ever run barefoot to strengthen your feet? I was thinking that could be... What about you? Do you do that with your football players? Like the feet strength?
Well, we always do everything barefooted, but running is kind of difficult,
Yeah. I like to do a warm-up training on the grass, bare feet. I like technical things. I love to do bare feet on the beach. I love to train on the beach, and that's also why I'm looking forward to go to Rio and play Fuji volley, beach volley, because it's just different. And that's the feeling of you're in touch with nature, you're in touch with the ball, and it's way better way to train your everything.
But also the strength of your feet. I started running barefoot a couple months ago. And just a month in, I could feel the whole, everything up till here was a different strength than ever before. I'm never running with fucking shoes again.
No.
And I was just thinking, in football, that must be one
football is
huge advantage.
Yeah.
So the issue with my football players is that the more we adapt their feet to be barefooted, the wider it gets, and the more difficulties they'll have with getting into a football booth, So...
And that's the ridiculous thing with football boots. I don't understand why they're made the way they are made.
Because it's an old invention.
Yeah.
It's an old fuck. You could optimize the living shit out of those boots.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because it was invented while the human foot was narrow. I don't know, but
there's a lot of football boots. I can't even get my feet into them.
Yeah. But eventually you will, because your foot was
shrinking. So that's the crazy thing.
Yeah. So.
But I'm not.
Mission for you will be to barefooted football in Brazil.
Yes, exactly.
Like you can see in those Jogo Bonito.
You could also see that Neymar has been injured a lot throughout his career, but I don't think he was ever injured when he played on the beach in Rio, right? And I don't think any of the Brazilians are injured in the beach.
That's when you get on get the boots on, right?
Yeah. And get constricted in your movement.
But you must send me some videos down
there. I'll send some videos,
because now I know it's only you and you with your selfie camera and all that stuff. But
I'll start sharing. Actually, we talked about before. I haven't shared that much so far of the next journey. I will start doing the chapter really starts for me in Brazil.
I really don't blame you for not sharing. Or do you mean social media wise, or
in general? Everything.
Yeah, because I know the social media part is just bullshit. It's just for flashing and for getting your business out there, which is also important. But in the end, social media is not important. It's just distraction and a waste of time. But we have to do it. Yeah. Because we have to get our messages out there, right?
Yeah.
But
it's a part of it.
This has been a hell of a conversation. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of stories, unique stories, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely have to have fun again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always down to it.
And I love your message, and I love what you do, and the way you are here. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, likewise.
Really,
I also appreciate what you guys are doing in trying to help people, just open people's horizon and look at, like, there is nothing wrong, there is nothing right. It's what you like.
Yeah, just
do you
message out. You
do
know.
you whatever you decide, but at least do it with a good intention of becoming better or feeling better, right? Yeah. So many people are constraining themselves without reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think what you guys want to portray as well.
Bringing awareness out, you know, we don't care about opinions.
No.
We don't care about differences. Just want to bring awareness out, and then people can do with it what they want to.
Yeah.
But the first step is always awareness.
Yeah.
And then you can take it from there, you know.
Yeah. And inspire them. Know that there's alternatives to a lot of the shit that you get told.
Yeah.
There's so much shit.
And again, as I always say, the people telling you things, just reflect on what they have done and gone through.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the same with the Iceman.
Who should I listen to?
The people telling you you're going to die of being in ice water, have they actually been in ice water themselves?
Have you in?
99% of the time, they haven't. People have opinions about everything.
Everything.
But they haven't tried. You know, it's their hunch or their feeling or their own perception of the world, or what they've heard, and imagine how much that changes from one, you know.
For
you can
sure.
These experiments where 5 people in
this, and where do you know it from? Oh, he told me, oh, this is how the world is, you know.
And again, today we don't, like, that's also, we talked about journalism and how people only read headlines. They don't read the actual stuff. They don't read the papers. They don't see what's in. They just see the sensational, and then they share it with other people before they've reflected on the whole story or what it actually is, right?
But I think it's actually interesting that it grounds in people's fear of death. You know? They're afraid of dying.
Yeah.
Oh, you die doing ice water. So fucking what? You're gonna die of cancer because you don't do shit?
Yeah, for sure.
And why should you be afraid of dying? That's another question.
Yeah.
No one fucking knows what it is.
No.
Why the fuck would you even be afraid of that? But that's for next time.
That's for next time. But I heard this. Who was this? Was it? It was Steve Jobs, the infamous. Have you seen his speech? Infamous speech at Stanford.
Yeah, I've seen it.
He says, most people want to go to heaven, but they don't want to die to get there.
Yes.
That's
for sure.
Right. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, because they're so scared of the pain and.
That makes sense.
But then they want to, but then it's the same whether you have a goal, but they're not willing to put in the work to get there.
Exactly.
You can apply it to so many aspects of your life.
Most people die like that, you know, never reaching their goals.
Look at fucking nature. You pick a strawberry, you think that wants it to pick, wanted to pick it? No, but you eat it and it becomes you. Yeah. A fucking way higher conscious being than it was, you know, because it was made for you to eat it.
Yeah. And my coach, the technical coach I've had, Michael, he has this fun thing, like in the forest, the trees are not worried about how much the other trees are growing. Every single tree is just trying to reach as high as it can. And I love that metaphor of.
And it's one huge.
Makes sense, man.
Exactly, right?
Trees and forests, that's another thing. We look at it as each individual tree. Well, fucking look in the ground. What you see is one huge network. It's like a brain.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking brain with fungi, with different sorts of plants, the roots all go together in one big brain.
And in general of our lives, right? There's what you see and then what you don't see. Everything actually goes into making that happen.
They help each other down there. They help each other down there. And sometimes you compete, but that's the part we don't get here. We only compete.
Yeah.
We don't help each other. No. And that's also what we're trying with these things.
Elevate each other, yeah.
Because humbleness is a part of what you do and a part of a lot of these people's journey, so they don't get it out enough.
No. And for me, if the humbleness is the relatability part, for me has been the most important in telling the story, to show that if I can do this, then whatever you listening wish or wants to do can do as well. Because I think that can be the challenge when you see Wim Hof or David Goggins, because they're so extreme characters. They have to be that, but it's difficult to fully relate to them, right? Yeah. Where I'm not trying to. I'm just being, sure. I have doubts as well. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know all the right things, but I'm doing it with intention and with belief in myself and belief that I can achieve what I've set out to do.
That's why I hope with all my heart that this project works. It will be. You will write history. Yeah, you will. And just the message that it will send to people, like, what can they achieve, right? Yeah.
Project 30.
And I think for me, with the next one is that I'm 33 to show that it's never too late. Yeah. Because that's all people tell themselves. Whatever you tell yourself is your truth.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm gonna play in the NBA after 30.
Well,
that's not gonna fucking happen.
But I saw one.
That's impossible.
I saw one guy who made his first NBA contract when he was 32. There is one story.
Yeah. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But that's not my goal. So no. That's fake.
No.
Let's end on that, guys.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's been a pleasure, Anders.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Talk to you until next time.
Yes.
See you guys.
Ciao.